you Without Fishing 13, bringing you another Zebco reel repair video. Today I have the Zebco 33K. This is not the most recent model, but the one that was the predecessor to the current 2020 model. A lot of people have been having some issues taking the reels apart and then putting them back together and having issues with the anti-reverse. So I want to do just a short video and demonstrate how to properly reinstall your anti-reverse and show you some issues that you may be having if you take one of these apart to service it and then you're a little bit confused or puzzled about how to get that anti-reverse back together. Since it is a little bit tricky, it's not super straightforward, and the diagrams and the schematics aren't going to show you how to put it back together. So let's get started on this. I'll try to do some close-up videos and some snapshots of how to put it back together properly so that it works. Okay, here's my Zebco 33K. You can see it right there. All the 33Ks basically look like this. So to remove your back cover, you need a small screwdriver. And you push the handle down and you insert the screwdriver right here and pry up, and it just pops off really easy. To take the handle off, lift up, push it to the left, and it comes out of the little pins right there. So there's a pin on that side that goes into a hole there and a pin that goes into a hole there. Okay, using a big screwdriver, let's remove the handle. Okay, this is one of the reels I super tuned, and it has the stainless steel ball bearings alert on that actually moves this little clicker over there. Let me show you again. So the clicker moves over there to the anti-reverse gears where it will click, and it can go backwards or forwards, so that when your fish is pulling on your line, there's no drag applied, but you'll hear it, and it's just really easy for the fish to pull it out. So that's the bait alert, but it also actuates the anti-reverse. When the bait alert is off in that position, see little O for off and the 1 for on, so it's a binary. I think that's funny. It's like a computer, off and on. Then this bite alert will actuate, and you can see, let's see, I can zoom in here, get this on here good. Okay, so you can see that the anti-reverse actuating right here. See that? And that's the anti-reverse pole, that's what they call it. And then there's a little plastic piece down here. This is kind of stained a little bit pink. See that right there? That's the actuator that's on the shaft itself. So it has a little finger down in there pretty deep. You can't really see it very well. But that little, when you go in reverse, there's enough friction on this little plastic piece that it pushes that back. So let me show you what might be going on. If you're having problems with this, you may have it partially installed correctly. Partially installed, and it will work part of the time, but you need it to work all of the time. And the thing about you need to understand also about the anti-reverse is with the gears there, it's going to turn, and there's going to be a little bit of backlash before it stops. It's going to be like that every time. It's going to move probably 10 degrees before it locks in place. Okay, so let me take this handle off and take this shaft out. We need to take it out with a pair of needle nose pliers. We need to remove this bearing retainer clip right here, shaped just like that. Then using my screwdriver, we're going to take out this bearing here And there should be, make sure you don't lose the little silver or brass shim washer. We'll remove this one. Okay, so there's my two bearings. I'm going to keep those nice and clean because I'm not really servicing this. And then I'm going to take out the shaft here. Now, this is going to be in the way, but you don't have to. What you can do is you can carefully push it aside just a little bit, this clicker, to get this out. So I pushed it aside and I'm taking it out. Okay, now I want to show you something here. Here's a close-up. I'm going to take a photo too. Here's a close-up of what it should look like from the front. And then here's the inside. Let me see if I can situate this so you can see this. Here's the actuator, right, the little pawl right here, the anti-reverse pawl, and it doesn't have anything that holds it in there after you remove the shaft. And let me take it out and show you which way it should go in. So looking at it like that, that's the way it should go in. See how it's shaped right there? Just like that. It just sits down there, and that little piece right there, that little nub or little key, sits down into a little groove down inside the case itself, the frame. Okay, let me show you how the anti-reverse works, just in theory here. You have this little actuator, and that's the way it sits down inside the reel. It has this little piece right here that this right here is moved by the switch right here. Okay, has a little mechanism that moves it right there. Okay. And then this little piece right here sits in there, and that little finger right there, see that little finger? Let me see if I can get this to focus. This little finger right there has to fit in this little groove right there. Okay, let me see if I can get this to focus again. That little groove right there. So it sits in there and it looks like this. When it's actuated, when the bite alert is off, it just sits there, and then this will pushes it up out of the way, and then it can spin in reverse or go forward, and nothing's going to catch. But when the bite alert is off and this little plastic piece can move freely, what it'll do is when it goes in reverse, it'll pull on that and grab it. But when the bite alert is on, it's stationary and it can't move because that little switch is in the way, and then it'll just spin forwards or backwards and the bite alert will go on. Some people have asked, is this sensitive to oil and grease? Well, not as much as you would think. It has to have some friction on here. It has to have some friction on the shaft there, and it doesn't take very much. And even though it looks like it's broken, it's not. That's just to allow it to stretch around there without being too tight. So if you're having problems, it needs a little bit of grease and oil on here, just a little tad bit. But more importantly, this has to be installed properly. It has to fit down there. If you install it and it's like this, what will happen is it'll slip down there into place, and then it's fine. But if you get it where it's below that, it might work part of the time when it goes, but it may not work all the time because this is kind of slipping around in there and it's not doing its job. So it has to be just perfectly in there. Okay, and then this piece right here needs to be in front of this little switch. So that little switch there, it has to be in a position where it can work. If it's not there where it can engage that, then the byte alert is not going to work. And so this will work part of the time, but not all the time, and maybe infrequently. So as long as this is not broken, this little piece right here, as long as that's not broken and it's installed like this, it can't be like this. If it's like that, that's wrong. That little finger right there has to be to the inside, and this has to basically be down like this, and then this piece right here has to fit in there like that. If you have it flipped over, it's not going to work if you have it like that, because nothing's going to engage. You know, you might be able to install it, but it's not going to work. And then the other thing is if you install this in the wrong slot, because there's looks like there's 2 slots down in there. You see that? There's a slot there and a slot there. Well, it goes in this slot right there, and there's a little tiny groove or little hole there that this goes down into. So let's put it back together. I'll try to zoom in here as carefully as I can and still get this. So let's put this piece in here. Remember, this little slot right there has to face towards the gears. So using my needle nose pliers, I'm going to put it into this slot right there and make sure this little key goes down into the hole, that little tab. So there we go. Okay, it's installed just the way I want it to. It's laying back there. You can see that it's in that second little slot. It's all the way down in there in that little groove. So now we need to put this in there so that that little finger right there goes down into that proper little groove. So to do that, I'm going to take and put this side in first, and then this side in second, and I'm going to make sure that it slips down in there just like that, and push it down in there. And now it's engaged, and you can see actually that it wants to engage it already because I have the byte alert on. So if I turn the byte alert off and get it, just kind of wiggle it down in there, I can see that it's going to engage properly. And I can look down in there, and it's hard to see that, but I can look down in there and see that finger is engaging it correctly. So only until we get the bearings in and everything put together is it going to work right. So I want to put this little tiny shim washer on here. Make sure it gets in there. Okay, got that on there. And put on one of my bearings. If you have bushings, same process. And I use my handle screw to seat it down in there. And so I got that seated, and then I'm going to put my bearing retainer clip on there. These can be kind of tricky. What you want to do is you want to start one side first and then kind of press it so that it goes together. So there we go. So if you start one side first, it makes it easier. Okay. And then put the other bearing in. And push it on all the way. And seat it. And then use your handle to test it. Okay, working perfectly. Test the byte alarm, and it's working perfectly. And then I'm comfortable putting it back together, so I'm going to put my handle on. Put my cover on. Put the top on first. And make sure this little groove lines up and snap it in place. I'm going to put my handle on the left side. That's the way I want this one. And put it back together. Okay, bi-alert's working great. Anti-reverse is working great. The bearings are working great. All right. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please comment below. Give me a big thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and share it with other Zebco owners, especially those that have these that want to super tune them. All right, thanks. Have a great day. Bye.